Imagine standing on the deck of a Royal Navy warship in 1918. The sea is calm, but the horizon is filled with the silhouettes of enemy battleships, floating fortresses built from thousands of tons of steel. Their massive guns can fire shells farther than the eye can see, and every navy in the world believes these monsters will decide the future of warfare. To sink one, you need another battleship, or so everyone thinks. But high above the waves, a small wooden biplane is climbing into the gray morning sky. Its engine roars against the wind. Its canvas wings shudder with every gust, and hanging beneath its fragile fuselage is something no aircraft has ever carried into battle before: a full-sized naval torpedo. It looks impossible. The aircraft is made of wood, fabric, and wire. It weighs only a fraction of the steel giant below. Yet if its crew succeeds, a single well-placed strike could send an entire battleship to the bottom of the sea. This wasn't science fiction. It wasn't a dream. It was Britain's first true torpedo bomber, the Sopwith T.1 Cuckoo. Today, almost nobody remembers its name. Ask aviation enthusiasts about famous British naval aircraft, and they'll probably mention the Fairey Swordfish, the slow biplane that helped cripple the Italian fleet at Taranto and played a decisive role in sinking the mighty German battleship Bismarck during the Second World War. The Swordfish became a legend, but decades before the Swordfish ever took flight, another aircraft had already proven that the idea of attacking warships from the sky wasn't madness. It was the future. That aircraft was the Sopwith Cuckoo, and strangely enough, it vanished from history. Its story was buried beneath the rapid advances of aviation, overshadowed by newer machines, and forgotten as the world rushed into another global conflict. Few photographs survived. Few people speak of it today. Yet without this overlooked biplane, Britain's naval aviation might have taken a very different path. So why did history forget it? To answer that question, we have to travel back to a time when airplanes themselves were still considered experimental machines. When the First World War began in 1914, aircraft were little more than flying scouts. Pilots carried pistols or rifles because dedicated aircraft weapons barely existed. Most commanders believed airplanes would simply observe enemy positions and report back. But war has a way of accelerating innovation. Within only a few years, engineers transformed airplanes into fighters, bombers, reconnaissance machines, and strategic weapons. Every month seemed to bring another revolutionary design, yet one challenge remained nearly impossible. How do you attack the most powerful ships ever built? Battleships were protected by thick armor, surrounded by escorts, and armed with anti-aircraft guns. Traditional bombs lacked the power to sink them, while naval fleets often couldn't get close enough for a decisive engagement. There was, however, one weapon capable of destroying even the largest warship: the torpedo. Fired beneath the waterline, a torpedo could strike where armor was weakest, flooding compartments and crippling ships from below. Until then, only destroyers, submarines, and specialized torpedo boats could launch these deadly weapons. The idea of suspending one beneath an airplane sounded almost absurd. A torpedo weighed hundreds of kilograms. Early aircraft struggled simply to lift a pilot, enough fuel for a short flight, and perhaps a few small bombs. Adding a naval torpedo seemed impossible. Many military leaders dismissed the concept outright. They believed the aircraft would never leave the ground. Others feared it would break apart in flight. Some argued that even if it could fly, it would never reach the enemy before being shot down. But a handful of British engineers refused to accept those limitations. Instead of asking whether it could be done, they asked how. Working under enormous pressure, designers at Sopwith Aviation Company began developing an aircraft unlike anything the Royal Navy had ever operated. Every part of the machine had to be reconsidered. Its wings needed enough lift to carry unprecedented weight. Its landing gear had to withstand the enormous load of a torpedo. Its engine had to provide enough power for takeoff while still allowing stable flight over open water. Every bolt, every wire, and every wooden spar pushed the limits of aviation technology in 1918. The result looked unremarkable. It wasn't sleek, it wasn't fast, it certainly wasn't beautiful, but appearances can be deceiving. Hidden beneath those simple canvas wings was one of the most revolutionary ideas in military aviation. The Sopwith T.1 Cuckoo wasn't just another biplane. It was the blueprint for an entirely new kind of warfare. If it succeeded, battleships, the undisputed kings of the sea, would no longer be safe simply because they sailed beyond the reach of enemy guns. The balance of naval power could change forever. Ironically, just as the aircraft was ready to prove itself, history took an unexpected turn. The war that had inspired its creation was drawing to a close. Its greatest mission would never happen. Its moment of glory would never arrive. And within only a few years, the aircraft that had once promised to revolutionize naval warfare quietly disappeared from headlines, museums, and public memory. Yet its influence never truly vanished. Because hidden within the Sopwith Cuckoo's forgotten story lies the beginning of every successful British torpedo bomber that followed. And, as you'll soon discover, this nearly forgotten biplane came astonishingly close to changing naval history forever. By 1918, the Sopwith T.1 Cuckoo was no longer just a daring experiment. It had become Britain's first operational aircraft specifically designed to carry and launch a torpedo. Powered by a 200-horsepower Hispano-Suiza engine, the wooden biplane could lift an 18-inch torpedo weighing nearly 800 pounds, an extraordinary achievement for its time. Royal Navy pilots quickly realized they were flying something that represented the future of naval warfare. The Cuckoo wasn't built for speed or dogfights. Its mission was far more dangerous. Flying just a few meters above the sea, pilots had to approach heavily defended enemy ships while avoiding anti-aircraft fire. At precisely the right moment, they would release the torpedo, hoping it entered the water smoothly before racing toward its target. It demanded exceptional skill, nerve, and perfect timing. The aircraft was even selected for Operation F.7, an ambitious plan to launch a massive torpedo strike against the German high seas fleet anchored deep inside its protected bases. More than 100 Cuckoos were expected to attack simultaneously, a tactic decades ahead of its time. Had the mission taken place, it could have become history's first large-scale carrier-based air assault against a naval fleet. But fate intervened. On November 11, 1918, the armistice ended the First World War before the operation could begin. The enemy fleet surrendered, the attack was canceled, and the Sopwith Cuckoo lost the opportunity to prove itself in combat. The aircraft that had been built to revolutionize naval warfare suddenly had no war left to fight. With peace restored, military budgets shrank rapidly. Aviation technology was advancing so quickly that aircraft designed only a few years earlier already seemed outdated. The Royal Navy turned its attention to newer designs with stronger engines, greater range, and improved performance. Quietly, the Sopwith Cuckoo disappeared from service. Because it never achieved a famous wartime victory, history largely forgot its name. Unlike the Fairey Swordfish, which became legendary during the Second World War by attacking Taranto and helping sink the Bismarck, the Cuckoo never had the chance to demonstrate its true potential. It became a forgotten pioneer rather than a celebrated hero. Yet its legacy survived in ways few people realize. The lessons learned from designing, testing, and operating the Cuckoo laid the foundation for Britain's future naval aviation. Engineers refined torpedo carrying techniques, pilots developed low-altitude attack tactics, and the Royal Navy gained invaluable experience that would shape every British torpedo bomber that followed. In many ways, the Sopwith T.1 Cuckoo proved a simple but revolutionary idea. A fragile aircraft made of wood and canvas could threaten even the mightiest battleship ever built. That concept forever changed naval strategy, paving the way for the aircraft that would dominate the seas in the decades ahead. So while the Sopwith Cuckoo vanished from headlines and history books, its influence never truly disappeared. It wasn't remembered because of the battles it fought, but because of the future it made possible. Sometimes the most important aircraft in history are not the ones that become famous, but the ones that quietly change the world before anyone notices.